What's up, Broncos Country? Ready for what could be the most important game of our season so far? Because what I'm about to reveal here is going to get your heart racing. Experts are divided, opinions are heating up, and there are people betting on something few believe is possible. But is our Denver Broncos family ready to silence everyone? Stick with me until the end, because this analysis is going to give you chills. Look at the situation we find ourselves in. This coming Sunday, our team is going to face one of the biggest challenges of the season. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, the current world champions, undefeated, playing at home with all the confidence in the world. And look, it's not just any home. It's right there in Philadelphia, where their crowd noise is deafening and where the Broncos haven't won since 1986. 1986, family. Let that sink in for a second. But here's what's driving everyone crazy. After that dominant victory against Cincinnati last Monday, something changed in the air. The team showed grit, showed heart, showed that when they play clean and disciplined, they can compete with anyone. Bo Nix commanded that offense like a veteran. The defense suffocated the opponent, and the energy returned to mile high. Now the burning question is, was that performance just a flash in the pan or the beginning of something bigger? I'm going to be straight with you. 13 experts got together to give their predictions about this epic matchup, and look, opinions are all over the place. The majority, I'll admit, are betting on the Eagles. But there's one detail that's making everyone think twice. These 2025 Eagles aren't that unstoppable machine everyone imagines. They're undefeated, yes, with 4 wins in 4 games, but the way they're winning is making a lot of people's eyes pop out. Let me tell you what's happening with the Eagles. Against the Rams, they were down 26-7 and needed a heroic comeback. Against Tampa Bay, they opened up 24-6 in the first half and almost gave away the game down the stretch. What does this mean? It means these guys are human. They have vulnerabilities. They can be beaten, and here's the part that's got the smartest analysts with their antennae up. The Eagles' offensive line, which has always been their strong point, is having serious problems opening holes in the running game. Saquon Barkley, that phenomenal running back they signed, is averaging just over 3 yards per carry. 3 yards, people. For an athlete of his caliber, that's almost an insult. He's been more effective as a receiver than as a runner per se, and that completely changes their offensive dynamic. On the other side of the ball, Philadelphia's defense, led by none other than Vic Fangio, that defensive genius who knows Denver like the back of his hand, isn't in flawless form either. They're dealing with injuries in the secondary, they're going through a roster overhaul, and most importantly, they're vulnerable against the run up the middle. And guess who has one of the best ground attacks this season? That's right, your Broncos. Now let's talk about our team. We have to be real here, family. The Broncos could easily be undefeated too. 2 consecutive losses that were pure self-destruction. Silly plays, penalties at the most critical moments, mistakes that winning teams simply can't make. We led all 4 games of the season going into the fourth quarter, all 4. But against the Colts and the Chargers, we handed it over on a silver platter. That drives you crazy, doesn't it? Because it shows that the talent is there. The capability is there. What was missing was discipline, was playing that clean and smart football that Sean Payton talks so much about. And that's exactly what we saw against Cincinnati. A focused team, executing the game plan to perfection, making fewer mistakes, and dominating all phases of the game. J.K. Dobbins has been an absolute revelation in the backfield. This guy is running with violence, with determination, breaking holes and gaining extra yards after contact. The offensive line is starting to gel, creating those openings that every running back dreams of having. And when you can establish the running game, everything becomes easier. Play actions work better, the quarterback has more time, the opposing defense stays honest. Speaking of Bo Nix, this kid is evolving every week. Sure, he's a rookie, there'll be ups and downs, but the guy has shown impressive maturity for someone in their first season. He even said after the Cincinnati game that any win in this league gives you momentum, and he's absolutely right. Confidence is everything in this sport. When you believe you can win, when you step on the field without fear, things happen. But now comes the trial by fire. Fangio knows Bo better than anyone. He's going to prepare a defensive game specifically to confuse the young quarterback, to put him in uncomfortable situations, to force him to make quick decisions under pressure. One of the experts who analyzed this game said that Fangio's going to put Bo in a blender on Sunday, and look, that's no exaggeration. This guy is a master at creating schemes that mess with the heads of veteran quarterbacks. Imagine a rookie. So what do the Broncos need to do to have a chance in this game? The formula is pretty clear, family. First thing, establish the running game from the start. It can't be that situation where we try to run twice, it doesn't work, and then we completely abandon it. Sean Payton needs to have patience, needs to trust Dobbins and that offensive line, and needs to keep hammering, even if the first attempts aren't spectacular. When you run the ball effectively, you control the clock. You keep the opposing defense on the field. You tire out their defensive line. And most importantly, you take the ball out of the Eagles' offense's hands. Because as many problems as they're having, that team still has dangerous offensive weapons. So the less they touch the ball, the better for us. Second thing, the Broncos' defense needs to stop the run up the middle. The Eagles are having difficulties in that area, so they're going to try to establish that right away to regain confidence. If our defensive line can close the middle, if our linebackers fill the holes with aggression, we force the Eagles to become one-dimensional, and then we can unleash the dogs on their quarterback. The Broncos' pass rush has been consistent when we can put the opponent in obvious passing situations. We have players who can get to the quarterback, who can force mistakes, who can change the game with an explosive play. But that only happens if we don't let them establish the running game. Third, and perhaps most important, discipline. No more silly penalties. No more turnovers in critical moments. No more mental errors that kill promising drives or give life to the opponent. This is a small margin game against a championship team. We can't gift them 15 yards here, 7 yards there. Can't turn the ball over in our own territory. It has to be a clean game, smart, executed with surgical precision. Now, let's look at what the experts are saying. Most of them, like 9 out of 13, are predicting an Eagles victory. But look at the scores they're projecting. Several of them think it's going to be a tight game, decided by a touchdown or less. This shows that even those betting on the Eagles recognize that the Broncos have the ability to compete. There's one analyst who said something interesting. He said that if this game were in Denver, the Broncos would have a real chance at an upset. And look, he's right. Mile High is a fortress. That altitude makes a difference. The crowd pushes the team. But this game is in Philadelphia, with an early start on a short week after a Monday night game. All these variables work against us. Short week is complicated, family. Less time for recovery, less time for preparation. Travel to the East Coast that messes with the body clock. An early game starting around noon local time, which catches the Western team still adjusting. These are small details, but at the NFL level, details make all the difference. But here's what's driving everyone crazy. 3 of the 13 experts are predicting a Broncos victory. 3 guys who cover this team religiously, who know every detail, every nuance, are betting on the upset. And they're not betting timidly either. They genuinely believe that Denver can go to Philadelphia and come away with the win. One of them made a brilliant observation. He remembered that nobody wins more in October than Sean Payton. It's like his trademark. The guy has an absurd record in the month of October throughout his career. And guess what month we're in? Early October. If there's any kind of magic or historical pattern, now would be the perfect time for it to manifest. Another expert betting on the Broncos mentioned that these two teams are closer in talent than most people want to admit. And when you stop to analyze position by position, he's not wrong. The offensive line is balanced. The running backs are balanced. Receivers are an advantage for the Eagles, but it's not an abysmal difference. On defense, there are arguments for both sides, depending on the metric you use. The third guy betting on Denver made a bold prediction. He said the game will go to overtime and that the Broncos will win impressively. Overtime against the world champions. At their house. That's the type of prediction that either makes you look like a genius or makes you look completely crazy. There's no middle ground. But you know what? I love when someone has the courage to go against the consensus, because that's what separates true analysts from parrots who just repeat the obvious. It's easy to predict that the undefeated champion team will win at home. It's comfortable, it's safe, nobody's going to criticize you if you're wrong. But predicting the upset? That requires conviction, requires having studied something others didn't see, requires believing in something beyond the paper. If you're true Broncos Country, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss a single play. Because regardless of what happens Sunday, this is going to be a journey you'll want to follow step by step. Hit that red button now and turn on notifications because the next few games are going to be insane. And look, there are solid fundamentals to believe in an upset here. The Eagles aren't playing well. They're winning, and winning is what matters in the end. But they're not dominating. They're scraping out victories. They're needing dramatic comebacks. They're showing clear vulnerabilities. Any well-prepared, disciplined team with a smart game plan has a chance against them. The Broncos have exactly that. One of the best coaches today in Sean Payton, a guy who's already won a Super Bowl, who knows how to prepare a team for big games, a physical and aggressive defense that can impose its style of play, an offense that when it's working can control time of possession and dictate the pace. All the pieces are there. The question is, will they come together at the right time? Let's talk about an impressive statistic. The Broncos have the second highest number of offensive snaps while playing with the lead among all teams in the league. 155 snaps with an advantage on the scoreboard. This means the team is competing, is putting points on the board, is giving fans reasons to have hope. The problem has been holding that advantage, closing games, executing in moments of greatest pressure. But against Cincinnati, we saw improvement in that. The team didn't let up at the end. They kept being aggressive, kept executing, kept making the necessary plays. If they can replicate that mentality against the Eagles, we've got a game. Now, I need to be honest with you too. There are concerning aspects to this matchup. The first is the Eagles' experience in high-pressure situations. These guys just won the Super Bowl a few months ago. They know what it's like to play with everything on the line. They know how to behave when the game is on the line. They know how to make that crucial play at the crucial moment. The Broncos, on the other hand, are trying to build that winning mentality. It's a process. You don't become a clutch team overnight. You need to go through those tough moments, make the mistakes, learn from them, and gradually develop that unshakable confidence. We're on that journey now. Another point of concern is the home field factor. Philadelphia is one of the most hostile environments in the NFL. That crowd is fanatical, loud, intimidating. They're going to do everything to mess up our offense's communications, to try to force false starts, to create an environment where mistakes happen naturally. A visiting team needs to have extraordinary mental discipline, not to be sucked in by that negative energy. And of course, there's the Vic Fangio factor. This guy isn't just any defensive coordinator. He's possibly the best in the business. He knows how to exploit weaknesses, how to disguise coverages, how to create pre-snap confusion. Bo Nix is going to see things on Sunday that he's never seen before. The question is how he's going to react. Will he panic? Or will he stay calm, trust his training, and make the correct reads? Speak up, Broncos Country. How do you think our team is going to respond to this challenge? Do you believe the performance against Cincinnati was a turning point, or do you think it was just an isolated game against a weakened opponent? Comment below with your opinion. I want to know what the family is thinking, because that's the big question, isn't it? Cincinnati was without Joe Burrow, so it's hard to evaluate exactly what that victory means in the grand scheme of things. But I'm going to tell you something. The way you win matters, and the way the Broncos dominated that game was impressive. It wasn't luck. It wasn't the opponent giving up. It was a team executing its game plan with efficiency in all three phases of the game. If they can take that mentality to Philadelphia, if they can maintain that focus and intensity, then yes, we have a chance. Maybe a small chance, but a real chance. And in football, sometimes that's all you need, a chance, a moment, a play that changes everything. So, Denver Broncos family, are you ready for this epic showdown? Do you believe in the upset, or do you Think it's too early for our team to compete at this level? Leave a like if you're excited for the game, share it with your Broncos Country friends, and we'll see you in the next video with more hot takes about our team. Go Broncos!